Hello, my dear friends, fellows travelers, and photographers. Welcome to Chris Lee Travel Channel. Indeed, time flies, and today is my last episode of my travel journey to Western Sichuan of China. Let's dive into this last episode of my travel journey, and in today I will share with you three very scenic parks and all located in different county. And just for the start, let's know whereabouts of Sichuan province. Now, Sichuan province is a landlocked province in China, and the location is as shown in the map. Is considered at the south or western region of China. And these three beautiful scenic natural park that I'm going to share with you is actually as shown in this map in these three different county and all been given a red dot, alright, shown on the map. And if you superimpose this into a topography maps of Sichuan, you notice all the three places are located between the Qinghai Tibetan plateaus. And the sequence of today, we are going to share with you, the journey will cover the three spots and will start with 1, 2, and 3 in the manner as exhibited in this map again. And here, the first beautiful scenic spot that I'm going to share with you is known as Gu Gou Zhen. Right? Gu Gou Zhen is a Chinese name, and you can see from the image itself, is you're going to be very, very high up in the altitudes and close to the snow-capped mountains. And next is also a very scenic park. They call it Wusun Hai Scenic Park. And the third one that I'm sharing with you will be this Mu Ke Chok scenic area or scenic park, they like to call it. And again, you can see it's actually we are visiting one of the highland lake in this region. In other words, what I'm going to share with you today, nothing but all the awesome, beautiful scenery in Western Sichuan. And please stay tuned. So for a start, we are starting with the first interesting place, and we call it the Biping Gou, right, or Biping Valley. The Gou in Chinese means valley, and the location is as shown in the map here now. So let's begin our tour, right, in this scenic park. So of course, the county that we are visiting, where this park is located, is under the Li County, right? And let's move on, and you will notice that if you visit the Li County, it's not just confined to Biping Gou only or Biping Valley. In fact, it's also a spot for most visitors. They are visiting the Dujiangyan Panda base, and this is where a place where you can able to get close encounter with the panda, right? And also we did not visit the hot spring in this region, so just to clarify that our visit today is more confined to the Biping Gou. And if you examine carefully, the region that we are visiting itself is actually a very huge, very beautiful scenic area, and it covers many valleys. And the Biping Valley is one section of it, as it can be seen in the area I circled in red. But instead, you look downwards of the circle right below. The places below are also equally beautiful and interesting. In fact, if you really want to visit this area, in full, I think you probably had to put 3 to 4 nights of stay nearby. So this is the beginning of the first image of our travel journey to this Bipingo. Okay, while we are going through this beautiful scenic park, indeed I need to share with you some of the background of this Biping Valley. Now, Biping Valley is a natural reserve, right, located in a high altitude valley of between 2,000 to 5,000 meters above sea level. And the valley is located inside the jurisdiction of Putou Zhen, in the southwest of Li County, in the Ngawa, or called Abad Tibetan and Qing autonomous prefectures of Sichuan province. Now, Li County is in the northern Sichuan, which is about 200 kilometers away from Chengdu. Now, Biping Valley covers an area of approximately 613 square kilometers. Now, geographically situated at the core zone of the Miyalau Nature Conservatory in the natural level, human and nature biosphere, right? And this Biping Valley is a crucial component of the giant panda habitats corridor in the Qinghai Mountains, right? A vital part of the UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site and one of the China premier red leaf viewing scenic destinations. Now, our visit will happen to be selectively coincide with their autumns, and therefore we are expect to see a lot of beautiful nature scenery in this valley. Now, because of its unique geographical position, and the Biping Valley is blessed with typical alpine views, right, including virgin forests, plateau lakes, old glaciers, and snow-capped mountains, right, and tickling stream and waterfall, as well as primitive meadow, right. Now, people regard this as a beautiful shadow of the Mount Siguliang when autumn comes or come, right, and the color foliage in the Biping Valley attract thousands of travelers that flock into this park yearly. Now, apart from its scenery, there is a large range of different species of flora and fauna. Now, with so many things to cherish, Biping Valley is honored as the 4A scenic area and also a national ecotourism zone, right, in China, and the core region of the Maya Lok Scenic Park. It's one of the major components of this Maya Lok Scenic Park, and also the UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site as the sanctuary of the giant pandas. All right. So, if you visit to this region, of course, I believe that you will not miss the few places that I just shared with you just now. Now, the traveler that visiting the Biping Valley, right, if putting a night in this region, they are most likely to place a night in this Gu town, a small town nearby, which is about 17 kilometers away from the park, right? And hotels in this town are equipped with acceptable standard of accommodations. So let's move on with the image, and later I will share with you more about this village, this beautiful village. Now you can see from the scenery now, of course, with the high altitude ranging from 2,000 to 5,000 meters, it all depends where you visit. And generally, when people visit to this this village, this beautiful scenic village, There are cover three main area. The first area they call them the Bai Long Waterfall, or in English translate to White Dragon Waterfall, and which is located at an altitude of 3,671 meter above sea level, and with a width of 10 meter and a drop of about 100 meter. Now, Bailong Waterfall is one of the largest waterfall in the Biping Valley. It resembles a white dragon flying from the lake, walking into the feet of the waterfall, right? And you can admire its magnificence at close. Later, I'll share with you on these images, right? Then the other interesting place that we are visiting in this scenic valley is the called Penyang Lake, right? It's also called the Algali Lakes, right? They have another name. It's located at an altitude of 3,676 meters above sea level. Penyang Lake is a beautiful lake, right? And with amazing surrounding scenery, a primitive forest region with azalea flowers, odd-shaped rocks, and also the amazing mountain, the Minijiang, and also the Minijiang River. Now, lastly, another interesting spot that I would strongly recommend you to visit is Hongshu Tan or Hongshu Beach in translation, or some people call it the Red Stone Beach, right? Now, there are many red stones distributed in the area, right, in the elevation, between the elevation of 3,000 to 4,500 meters. Now, the stones are not red naturally, but instead it actually covered with red colors mosses and can only be survived at high altitude regions. Now, the Hongshu Beach is the best place to enjoy the magnificent view of the red stone in Biping Valley. So let's move on, dive into all these beautiful images that I've captured while my visit to Sichuan. In fact, these images we are taking at the Penyang Lakes area, and then been surrounded by snow-capped mountains, high peak around. So now you can see the beautiful lakes, the Penyang Lakes. And one thing you notice that because due to the high altitude, that's about 3,600 meter, so it's advisable that for visitors that come from low ground that must get acclimatized, and also to slow down all your action and activity as much as possible while exploring these highland lakes and also the valley in these regions. So now this is the what I'm referring to, the Pailong waterfall, or in English the White Dragon Waterfall. The backdrop, of course, is the snow-capped mountains. And while we are walking, exploring, of course, we also walk past some of the forest regions. And you notice most of the trees have actually the leaf have turned into goldish yellowish color, and some tree even is leafless at this moment while our visit. Here is the red stone beach. As I mentioned earlier, it's not the stone that red in color. The red color are due to the mosses, which only can survive at high altitude. Much closer view. It's quite a large park. I reckon that you need even just only this Beeping Valley. You need a full days to explore, and also there are a fair bit of walking, right? Then we are moving on to next interesting spot, all right? And before we can visit this beautiful another scenic park itself, the access point is from this Julong town. That means that this is actually the the township that provide you the entry point. Any visitor who wish to visit this Wu Sun Hai Scenic Park itself, they have to go through this Julong uh, town, right? Now, this Julong town is a county level township located in the Julong County, and which is southwest of Mount Gonga, right? It's about 240 kilometers south of Kangding in the southeastern Gansu Tibetan Autonomous Prefectures. Now, Jurong is a step over or stopover town for those visiting Wusu Hai Scenic Area, and Jurong town can be reached while Kangding and route Singtuqiao, then cross over the Mao Zedong, right, and before arriving right at the Jurong town. So this is a rough indication of the travel journey for you to, in order for you to visit the Wusu Hai Scenic Park. And of course, the location now is as shown at the red. There are two red dots at the moment. The lower red dot is the Wusu Hai Scenic Park located. So let's move on with the Wusu Hai Scenic Park images. Indeed, this is also a park that we have actually spent about a day, and also there's a lot of walking. I wouldn't even call it trekking. Somehow or other, but the path that we walked through is not as compared to some of the very scenic park like earlier in this Yachting scenic park. The beginning Yachting, all the path have been properly constructed with a wooden walking platform. But in this case, in the Wusu Hai, it's not the case. You're literally walking on a season track, all right, a season track, and it could be quite challenging for those who are not get used to walking on off the road off road tracking. But I think still manageable because I think generally, as I say, it's a very seasoned track. and to certain extent still quite easy to walk on. So we're walking quite a fair bit before we are arriving at the scene that you have just shown you on this image. Because it's been at a high altitude in this Wusu High, so we are expecting that the temperature is very cooling. In fact, that the this Wusu High is been so famous must have a reason behind. Now, this Wusu High scenic area, right, of course, it's been located in the northern part of Julong County, right, is one of the spectacular attractions in the Gongga Mountain scenic area. And the park covers an area of approximately 400 square kilometers. Now, inside the park, right, you can see the overlapping mountains, right, as well as southwest towards snow-capped mountains with an altitude ranging from 1,440 meter to even to 6,010 meter. Now, the elevation of a Wusu lakes, right, the Wusu High, actually the high, its main lakes in Chinese, is about 3,760 meter above sea level, and the lake have a length of about 1,200 meter or 1.2 kilometer by 600 meter in width, right? And the deepest point of this lake is about 33 meter. Now, the lake water is supplied from the melting snow from the nearby snow mountains, and also come from the groundwaters. Now, the lake waters discharge into the Wusu Valley at the southeast end of the lake, and finally discharge into the Julong River. And so the Julong town is, of course, is located next to Julong River. It's for this reason you can find that in ancient town in around the world, all townships are mainly built next to a river. So on the southern and northern edges of the Wusu Lake are fronting two cone-shaped mountains, right, and which look only not only majestic but also spectacular. While on the western edge is where the Langus Snow Mountain is located. So let's see some of the images. You can see now this mountain range and is snow caps in this image. And this is one of the flat land right before the lakes. Now, interesting, as I say, that because it's quite high in altitude, so most of the time at night there will be frogs, right, develops and cover the grass, and in the morning happen to be the area where shadows by the tree that the frog is still there, or the snow is yet to melt, you know. And instead, other area where the sun has shine on, the frogs or the snow have fully melted, as can be seen in this image. Quite a unique phenomena that you can come across in this part of the world. This area is pretty, I should say, the temperature not only low during autumn and winter, but also is very moist, very damp, you know, very humid and very damp location. So you expect to see that a lot of mosses are growing everywhere. So we did quite a fair bit of trekking or walking, I mean, in order to arrive at this lake. Here, the forest is age forest, so you can see most of the trees are very huge in size. And you can see during autumns we managed to capture various colors leaf on the tree. You can see the vegetation here is typically highlighted. This area is very damp and humid regions. And also at the park there are also a small village live with local Tibetan, and we managed to have a chance to have a visit. Of course, we did not enter into the locals' residence house, but it's just roaming around in the village. And you can notice the roof of these dwellings is been covered with using the rocks, a big piece of rock or stone to stack on the top to prevent it being flown away. And we met this old elderly person, a young baby, a young kid playing, and also some local Tibetans. Then the next one is we are going to visit the last park, and this last park is also very close to this famous Kangting town, or and some people call it the Kangting scenic area. Now, this Kangting, this town, if you remember, if you are Chinese, and you probably remember, there's a song called Kangting Love Song, or in Mandarin, Kangting Qingge, and it's actually a song that to the showcase of this beautiful city. In fact, you have a chance to visit Kangting. It's a hilly city, but built next to the river. Along the river, it's a valley. It's a valley, a city built on a valley. It's very scenic. I would recommend that you put a night in Kangting town if you have a chance to visit Kangting. So the location of this Kangting town, as seen, as shown in this map, and of course the scenic park that we are sharing with you now is at the north of Kangting town, and they call it the Muge Chor Fengjing Qu, or Muge Chor scenic area. And of course, from the name is a Tibetan name. Muge Chor, which is a Tibetan name. Now, this Muge Chor scenic area is located in the northeast of Kangting city. It's only about 17 kilometers away from the city, north of the city. And of course, Muge Chor is a Tibetan word, and it means savage, right? And it covers an area of about 350 square kilometer, and the altitude of the scenic area ranges from 2,600 meter to 3,780 meter above sea level. Right, and the highest sightseeing spot visitor can reach is 3,780 meter above sea level. Now, the wonder of this scenic region, including their picturesque lakes, which I'm sharing with you now, virgin forests, beautiful azalea flowers, snow-capped mountains, the rushing stream, and also waterfall in this region. Now, Muge Chor, a scenic area that been complemented, right, as the later Jiuzhai Valley. For those who visit the northern Sichuan before, you would definitely will visit the Jiuzhai-Gou, right? So, but here they are referring this is the miniature Jiuzhai-Gou in a way, because of its beauty, scenic scenery. And of course, you are while visiting to this valley, you are expect to able to see meet with a lot of abundance of red and yellows colors leaf
if we visit during the right season. In this case, I'm referring to autumn. Now, and the must-see sightseeing spot are Mucho Lakes or Mucho Cove Lakes, right? And the Azalea Gorge, right? Where actually you can find a lot of species of azalea flower. And also the Yaozi hot spring. And on top of that, there's another lake also called Seven Color Lakes. And they call it Chicai Hai in Chinese. So visitor normally will take the sightseeing bus, right, from the bottom to the top of the valley, because they do provide sightseeing bus, and normally you had to purchase, and the fare is included in the tickets. And then Muga Cho Lakes occupied at the topmost of the this scenic park, and visitor can then recommend that go right to the highest point to the lake and then walk down. And at the same time, you can also take a cruise, a boat cruise at these beautiful lakes, highland lakes. And then you can either take a bus downwards back to the lower regions of the park, or you can decide to walk and walk past the uh, Azalea Gorge, which is actually full of beautiful flower, and also can pass through some beautiful hot spring, and you can even have a dips in this hot spring. So let's move on with the image. So you can see this is the location of this Muguacho scenic area. It's right at the north of Kangding. And this is the tourist map, and I have shown you the three main area. The first highest most lake and the Muguacho lakes. Then the midway, there's where they locate the hot spring. And then as you go further down, you will have a seven color lakes. And in fact, to visit all these three spots that's highlighted in this map, it will take you again a full days. So this is an image taken at the Mongkucho Lakes, at the highest lake. So as we're walking down to the midway, quite close to the hot spring, and this is a scenery near to the hot spring area. These images are still at the higher part of the region of the park, and this is the hot spring, the location of the hot spring where you can get yourself a dips. And some of our tour mate was take off the shoe and dip the both feet into this hot spring. And while walking on this Azalea Gorge, and of course you're walking next to the fast flowing rivers, you will come across quite a number of waterfall along the way. Then you finally arriving at these seven color lakes, or they call it Chise Hai. And this is scenic scenery surrounding this Chise Hai. Autumn scene in this park. Most of the tree already turned into goldish yellow. And just before I end, I need to highlight, give you some insight of how to prepare for a trip to Western Sichuan, because quite a number of my friends did ask me. He said that from your travelogues, City 1 all the way to City 4, we noticed quite earlier that we visited, or rather I visited, are all on high altitude. And what should we do? And also seem to be quite a fair bit of walking. So I hope to share with you some of my findings and my suggestion to any potential visitor to this part of the world. And first of all, take extra precautions, right? And please against the possibility of suffering for AMS, or rather you call it high altitude sickness. Because generally most of the trips, the journey, the area where you put the night are also at quite high altitude, and or during the day we also been visiting places that even exceeding 4,000 meter above sea level. So acclimatization is one of the way. Slowing down is another way. Do not overexert yourself, and of course please have enough sleep. That is very important, and drink a lot of waters. Then the next thing is that as you are going to be doing a lot of walking, alright, so adequately equipped with a guard against the sudden change of weather, because likely you'll be outdoor most of the time. The moment you leave your hotel, you'll be outdoor the whole day until the dawn. I mean at nightfall, then you only back to our hotel. So you could be 8 or 10 hours outside, and temperatures in this region, the climate in these regions, although I recommend you visit during the autumn, but as I say earlier, during the noon time, temperature could be 15, 12 degrees Celsius, still fairly comfortable. But when come to late evening or early morning, the temperature can be even close to freezing zero, right? So warm clothing is definitely a must, and you can and also wear in layers, so that during the noon time or after trekking or excessive walking, you will be sweating, and therefore you can take it up. And also during daytime is not that cold. I mean, although it's quite cold during autumn, but it will be cold during winter. That I have to highlight to you if you visit during winter. And definitely you need to put a good pair of walking shoe, and please don't wear a new pair of shoe. Make sure wearing a pair of old shoe, a seasoned shoe, right, that have been worn for a while. And I also have to say that you need to be reasonably physically fit, right, and also know your limits. I did come across some travelers, they forgotten they are at a high altitude, and they try to assert themselves, and they don't even know how to gauge themselves whether they are able or not, because there are some mountain climbing, uphill climbings, and if you can't, then it's try not to. That's why just now I recommend that you take the sightseeing bus all the way up to a higher altitude. You get it down, then you walk down. Because walking from high altitude downhill is much easier than you walk uphill. I mean, particularly for those old age people. So this is one way you have to plan your journey, right? Even between the park. And lastly is never travel alone, because it's not say that places are not safe. It's all very safe. But physically, I'm saying that if you happen to be fall sick, unfortunately get a fall, or you suffer highland sickness and you are alone, it could be pretty dangerous. So therefore, going to visit in the groups, at least a pair, 2 or more, just in case one of them is suffer from any form of sickness or injury, the other one can give a helping hand. So this is some of the recommendation for those who intend to visit Western Sichuan. But first and foremost, get yourself fit when visiting this area. So now, this is just an image, do a summary of all the stopover points that I have covered during my entire journey from episode 1 to episode 5 today. And you can see that at the ground, beside, other than Chengdu, which is only about 700 meters above sea level, along the way, all the city or all the town that we visit easily are close to 2,000 meters and above. And of course, the highest is when we close to Litang, which have reached altitude to 4,000, and also when we reach this Yating Natural Reserve, we have even arrived at the altitude of close to 4,500 meters. So you can see that we are literally traveling on highland plateaus, and therefore we are expecting to encounter with high altitude sickness for some of us. Right. I did have symptom of this AMS, but of course I managed to overcome. I'm not sure about the other my travel mates, but I strongly suggest that actually take some precaution while visiting to this Western Sichuan. But it's a beautiful place. It's worth visiting, right? So, and before I end, these are the stop that I have covered. And for those who are first time with me, I would strongly recommend that you go to all my other earlier episode to have a complete tour of the Western Sichuan. And before I end, this is just the group photo of my travel groups during this trip to Western Sichuan. And here, of course, I have to thank the organizer, Laura, which actually have been putting a lot of effort in coming up with these wonderful trips. And I have to thank her for such a nice trip, and I will never forget in my life. Thanks you, Laura. And lastly, if you have followed until the end of this episodes and at this hour of the day, I'm sure you could have been entertained by my travelogues. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. I will be much pleased. This is some form of encouragement given to me, and also help to share to your friend and family, so that they can be like you, right? Travel virtually around the world at the comfort of their home. And lastly, that at the end of these episodes, I would next week I won't be have a travelogues because I'm in the middle of preparing another travelogue for another country, and I'm likely to be the Southern Hemisphere. I will not let you know which country I'm visiting. I'm sharing with you, but again will be a very exciting travel journey of mine. And again, the visit is during the autumns in the Southern Hemisphere in the month of April, and of course in Southern Hemisphere, April it means it's actually autumn season. So please stay tuned until we see each other again next week. All right, and please stay safe, stay strong, and bye. See you again.